Hey everybody, Miguel here. I'm back to talk to you about Eterna. So, we've already got the last video of Eterna. I'll link it in the description. You can see that video. The last video I did about Eterna was very specific and straightforward, just why you should shoot Eterna profile on the X-H1 if you're trying to do straight out of camera into the project and just, finish with that, not color. But now let's talk about what if you do want to color. And I shoot these now on the Red 1 MX. This is a big ass camera, but it's a great camera for in studio. The only issue is I don't need a bunch of red footage on my computer coloring it for every vlog I do. I just want it to look the same every time. Part of my process is I take my red mag, put it in my mag reader, and I plug it into my computer, and right off of the mag, I drop it into Premiere. I drop my LUT on it that I want it to look like, and I render it out as a high bitrate H.264. That way, when I'm editing, I have these smaller files that look the way I want them to look, and I'm not taking up a ton of space, and they play back way faster in Premiere. But what I did think about doing, and this is what I'm going to show you today, I love the look of Eterna, and I wanted to get that look on the Red. And at first I was just trying to figure out if I could make my own settings and drop it on and then be ready with the Red and Eterna, but it's hard. I'm not a pro color corrector. I am very amateur. The LUT for Eterna comes with the X-H1. What if I use the Eterna F-Log to Eterna LUT on my Red footage? See what it looks like. So let's take a look. We're gonna go on the computer now and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. So Fujifilm Eterna F-Log LUT. I'm gonna put a link, but I'm just gonna show you guys how you find it. So I just googled that Fujifilm Eterna F-Log LUT. Boom, download the F-Log 3D LUT file. First thing to go through, we have a couple of housekeeping details here on Red footage, on any footage, but Red footage in particular. This is important. You have two types of effects here in the effects control panel. I've got the effects for the shot, and I've got a master effects, which for Red footage includes this red source settings. So what is the difference? This one, the normal effects, which if you click on a clip, this is what it takes you to. This one is for that clip in that timeline at that spot. It will in no way affect any other clips in the whole project. If you go to a clip and you go to the master settings, now these are going to change every time that clip's used in the whole project. This will be the settings it's going to use. So if you do an edit with a bunch of footage and you change the master settings, it's a nice way to go, hey, I changed everything and I don't have to copy and paste lumetri or color or whatever onto every file. I know that this source file is going to look like this the whole time. And then you can go actually on top of it and change the actual settings, add another lumetri or something, and tweak specifically that shot if you need to. So in order to show you this, I had to duplicate the file here in the project. So I have two of every file I'm using. The reason is I'm going to be changing the source settings, and I don't want to change the source settings for both. So let's take a look. Master, red source settings. So first of all, when the red source settings come in, it comes in as legacy, and this is what I used to use, and it gives you a bunch of options here. Dragon color, Red 2020, red gamut, 709. So it gives you a bunch of gamma curve color space options. The new settings that I've seen now that I've updated Premiere is this IPP2 settings. And if you change it to IPP2, it changes a little bit. It looks a little different over here. So let's take a look. Legacy, and a little bit, maybe a little bit desaturated, a little bit more saturated. Very minimal set change. This one doesn't have the type of settings that one had. This is basically, hey, here's what red gives you out of the camera. There's some stuff you can change here too. So if you know all your footage needs an S curve, you can go and do that. Or you want to bump up the exposure, you want to change the ISO, you can do that for that specific shot on the master settings. But what we're interested in is this color space gamma curve setting right here at the bottom on the output transform settings. The output transform settings, you can change these from Rec 709 to red wide gamut RGB, which is going to take us to a more log color profile, and you can change the gamma curve from BT 18896, which I don't know what that is, to log 3G10. Basically what I'm doing is I'm getting this raw footage back to a log format, so that in this format I can add the Eterna LUT and it can apply its color settings rather than Red's Rec 709 BT gamma curve color settings that it defaults to. This is something you want to do on the raw settings. First of all, because it exists in the red source file settings, but this is going to do it to all your clips. So if you were going to do what I'm going to do, which is drop this new Eternal LUT onto all of your footage, you need to do this first. So I done it. Here we go. So, all right, so let's take a look. So now real quick, I'm going to actually set these back because like I said, I duplicated the footage and we want to compare. So up here, I have a new duplicate of this footage. I'm going to turn it on, and here I've logged it out. First and foremost, I'm going to apply the Eternal LUT to my logged out footage. Here we go. Eternal LUT actually comes with these three. I don't know what these two are for. I haven't worked with F-Log a lot. I end up shooting Eterna only most of the time. So I don't know what F-Log to F-Gamut to BT709 F-Log does. I'm interested in the Eternal LUT. The Eternal LUT color profile is what I like. So this is original Red 1 MX footage. So it's going to be a little different depending on the footage, and we're going to get into that later. Right now we're talking about Red 1 MX. Be aware of that. So we've got the Eternal LUT applied, and it's starting to look good, but it's certainly not right, you know? I mean, it's definitely dark. It's definitely uncontrasty. So let's go ahead and see if we can fix it. Now, my first thought was change the red source settings and go in here and, you know, maybe bump up the exposure and bump up the contrast. But then I got to do that to the red source settings every time. And what I really want is to do as little to the red source settings as I have to, and then just apply a LUT to Lumetri. And all I have to do right now is do the red, white gamut and the Rec 709, which is easy. So let's see if we can do everything in Lumetri. So first thing I need is a little bit more exposure. And the next thing I need is maybe a little more contrast. So let's do 50. And now we're looking pretty good. Now, it's not perfect. The thing that I noticed with the Red 1 footage is that it looks a little magenta. And this is just the Red 1 footage. You're going to get different results applying this LUT to different cameras. Again, because it's meant for Fujifilm F-Log. So the results are going to be all over the place. And they could be wildly off. And you would have to do a ton of different stuff to fix it. I went into this not knowing. And so then I sort of went step by step. I think this looks pretty good. I fixed the exposure. I fixed the contrast. You can do this to taste if you want more contrast for your one light. Drop in a little bit more contrast. You want less, you know, do 25. Whatever you like as your like base. And then you can always tweak on top of that after you've applied the LUT. This is so we can get everything to a base place that we think looks good. So I'm going to do 50. I like 50. Now we've got to figure out this magenta thing. I think it looks a little magenta. I had the advantage of comparing this to actual Eterna out of the Fujifilm X-H1. So let me show you that. I've got this clip here that is actually out of the X-H1. We're at daylight white balance, and this is what it looks like. And so I was able to compare this to my new Red 1 conversion, and that's where I got this idea that it was a little too magenta. As you can see in the face, we're getting a nicer skin tone out of the X-H1, whereas here we're getting a very magenta face. So you may not have that advantage if you don't have the X-H1, and that's okay. Just be critical, have a critical eye about it. Mess with more stuff, see if you can get it to a good spot. I'm telling you right now though, for my Red 1 MX, this is what I found. So I'm going to go ahead and go to negative, I think I did negative 12. So we're going to take a look at that. Negative 12. And we're going to do that. And, you know, actually, maybe I do need more contrast. Let's see. Let's compare. It's looking pretty close. I think it's a little bit brighter on the X-H1. So really, my perfect settings are this. I got a 2.5 boost on the exposure. I got 50% on the contrast, and I've got a negative 12 on the tint. And I think this gets my red footage into a place where I'm happy with it. I think it looks good. I think it looks good enough to drop this on and not worry about it. And I can tweak it later. I can tweak it per shot, like I said. So let's do the next thing. So the next thing I'm going to do that I'm going to show you is I want to save this. So now that I don't need to do this every time, I can just drop my own LUT on. So Lumetri lets you save a LUT out. So let's do that. So let's go to here. If you click on the label here, the Lumetri color label, which is so intuitive, or the 3 lines here. It's so intuitive, Adobe. I would have no problem figuring that out if I had not looked it up. You do export.cube. You can do a look too. You can save a preset. These, cube.cube works in multiple programs. So let's go ahead and do that one. And I've already saved it out here, so I don't need to do it. But then you just save your .cube wherever you want. And then I'm going to show you right now. So let's go ahead and reset Lumetri. I'm back to being logged out, and let's put in my saved LUT. So I've got a red 1 to Eterna right there. Red 1 to Eterna LUT. Let's open red 1 to Eterna. And bada bing, bada boom. Drop that on every time. I'm good to go. Bing, bing, bong. You know what I'm saying? So let me know in the comments if you like this. If this is all you need to know, you're done. But I'm going to move on to some other footage to kind of show you just how this works moving forward. Okay, so let's move on to another clip just to reiterate how this works. So again, I've got my red 1 footage here. I shot this music video. I've got it logged out here, same way I did it over here in the red source settings. I went down to red wide gamut, log 3G10, and I'm going to drop the one I made, red 1 to Eterna LUT on. And boom, I think it looks better. I think that looks way better. Look at the skin tones. Again, I was having the green problem in the siding before. I don't see a green problem here. I think the skin tones look better. I think the whites are a little bit, I think I shot it a little bit warm. So now, if I'm thinking I shot this a little bit warm, I want to cool this down a little bit. I already got my good LUT on there, right? So I can just do it on top of it, and it's still going to look good. I can bring the warmth down, and the skin tones are still going to stick around here for me. So works on that shot. Here's another one. So this is another one that I compared with the Eterna. Now this one didn't work as well, mostly because it's really weird lighting. I've got a different color tungsten light over here. I've got a sort of not tungsten light over here. So it's a weird yellow. So I wanted to see how it would work with some mixed white balance. So here we go. I've got my original here. This is out of the red. It looks terrible. Absolutely does not deal with these colors well. I've logged it out here. So now we're in the log profile on the second one here. And so I'm going to go ahead and drop my custom LUT on, red 1 to Eterna. Again, this is still the red 1. And I think that looks, you tell me in the comments, but I think that looks way better. It's not that much different, but what I think it does here, and take a look at the difference here. I think it takes these oranges and it just makes them less harsh. It's still orange, but it feels more natural. It doesn't feel like I'm getting destroyed by a weird colored light. It feels way more natural. And again, this is the same LUT that fixed this one, that fixed this one. This is the same LUT. So, and it's not going to be perfect for every situation, but again, I think I picked out some nice ones here that work really well, that are all different. And if I was going to fix this one, I'd probably bring up the contrast. I'd probably blue it out a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. Actually, no, I like it as was, as they say. Maybe I could add magenta back in because I think that this light works better with it. Actually, yeah, I think that looks great. So you do still want to tweak on top of this, but this is going to get you to a starting point where you can really be confident in the skin tones and in the overall color science. So here's some red 1 helium footage. I shot a short film on the red 1 helium, and the red 1 helium is obviously a newer sensor. It's 8K, so things are going to be a little different. Let's do the same thing and let's see what happens. So on this top piece of footage, I logged it out. Again, it's going to be the same thing in Premiere. It has the same red source settings, IPP2. You log down here. You red wide gamut, log 3G10. And on the Lumetri, I'm going to drop the red 1. No, I'm not going to drop the red 1 to Eterna. I actually made one for red helium, but I'm going to show you how to make it. So let's drop the Eterna original F log to F gamut to Eterna LUT. Okay, so as you can see, it's sort of doing what Eterna does to colors right away. So that's the original, that's new Eterna. That's our Eterna LUT on it. So let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Let's do the same thing. Let's pop the exposure up to 2. Let's see how that compares. I think we're getting right around the same exposure. So 2 is better. I did 2.5 for the red 1. Now 2 works. And then let's do the contrast. So let's do 50. Oh, I did 150. Let's do 50. 50 contrast. Looking pretty good. I could probably even go up to 75. And maybe it's this particular shot. But the one thing to know, if you're going to build a LUT that's going to work for everybody, I would do it on a few shots before you save it. Because you want something that works for everything. And this 75 contrast may be good for this shot, but, you know, who knows? Who knows for other shots? So, I think this looks really good. I don't have Eterna to compare it to, but that looks way better than that. Maybe it's still a bit magenta. And let's see what happens if we pop it down to green. See, then I think I'm adding too much green. And a good way to test this is the whites. So if you look at the white parts of the shot, if I go to -10 now, look, I mean, it's basically a green. It's basically green. We can also look at the scopes here. I mean, just our green is popping way too high up here. So if I do -5, no, that's 5. Oops. Let's do -5. Green's still popping up. I mean, maybe I don't need to add any tint adjustment to this. Maybe this is just good as is, because I think that adds some green in there that I'm not happy with. Let's see what happens when we see her in the shade. Guys, I think this looks really good. Look at the skin tones. I think they just look so natural. Let's compare here. A little bit too yellow. It's definitely less of a change. I'll tell you that. From the red 1, we got a huge switch, you know, right? Let's look at that real quick just to make sure. From red 1, we get this huge yellow shift on the red 1 footage. Older sensor, maybe it's just not as complex. But this one, we're still getting a shift, and it's still a little bit yellow. So I like it. I think it looks great. Let's look at one where it shifts even more. Here's one I did. Same movie I shot. So here's the original, and it is IPP2. Let's go to this one. Let's log it out, just like we did. IPP2. Let's go to log styling. Boom, logged out. And let's actually do the one I made. So this one was what I just did for you guys. It literally just boosts the exposure and boosts the contrast. So this one looks great. I mean, it just looks perfect. I mean, maybe there's a little green in the walls, right? I could do 5 here, maybe. And yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it needs a tint adjustment of +5. But I really think this looks good. Look at this compared to the original footage. I mean, come on. Even if I get this properly exposed, let's do 50 exposure, and let's actually do a -1. Oh, that does not look good. Let's actually change the, I'm going to change the ISO here to 800. So even if I kind of fix the exposure a little bit and make it look a little bit more like a natural shot, I think this is still a little too dark. Maybe it's somewhere between, but, you know, maybe even if I fix that, I mean, look at those skin tones. Look at the wall. Look at the dark shadows. Look at the highlights. I mean, it just looks cleaner. It looks more professional. And these skin tones look flattering. And the hair looks flattering in this color. It's just yellow. I just don't know how. I don't know. I mean, this is the helium still. This is the helium again. And we're getting a huge shift. So I just think it looks way better. I did find a few shots where it doesn't look better. So it is a case-by-case basis, but I would say for me, I'm going to be dropping this on everything I shoot, and then on the case where it doesn't look good, I will probably take it off and fix it or do something. I don't know, maybe fix it after I've put it on. So just something to keep in mind. But I think this is a really good catch-all. I think the Eterna LUT's working with the red footage really well. One last thing I tried, if you guys are still around and you're still listening, I tried one more thing, and I dropped it on some S-Log footage to see if it would work with other log formats from mirrorless or DSLRs. and I don't have any other footage, and maybe I'll do a follow-up real quick where I get some vlog, I'll get some, Nikon log, I'll get some Panasonic log, and I will, on all of them, I'll try getting the Eterna to fit onto it. It's way more difficult than the red footage, but this is because the red footage is full raw, high bitrate footage. This is 8-bit terrible Sony log. So, it's not gonna work as well, but let's try it. So let's put the F-Log on here. Let's see what happens. I think immediately we're noticing that the skin tones are looking better. I mean, look at it, fixes it immediately. It fixes the skin tones immediately. So actually, let's do a comparison. Let's do a comparison because already I'm happy with this. So let's bring this up here. Let's duplicate it. So on this top one, we've got F-Log, and it's overexposed, and that's because when I used to shoot S-Log, I remember you had to overexpose it by like 3 or 4 stops in order to properly have it work in post. So everything's overexposed. So here's the original. Let's just go ahead and try to color the original without F-Log. Let's just take the original and let's go contrast. Hey, you just have to fucking crank the contrast on this stuff. Let's do curves. And I know I should probably be in Resolve. I know everybody uses Resolve. I'm looking for something that I can do in Premiere so I don't have to go back and forth. So spare me the comments. I'm going to drop the shadows here. Also spare me the comments about how terrible I am at color correcting. I don't care. Okay, so we've got that. It's looking okay. I did a curves already, didn't I? Yeah. It really looks like crap. Sorry, guys. Let's even add some orange to the highlights. Oh, let's add some blue. Let's do the classic teal orange conversion and see if we get something that we like. So it's looking okay. I mean, I don't know. You guys can make fun of me all you want, but this is my best shot at fixing log. I used to do this all the time, so I actually was pretty good at it, and now I've just been out of practice of trying to spend all my time fixing Sony log that I'm happier and my life is more full. So here's Eterna. Dropped Eterna on here, and we'll compare it to the Slog in a second. It's a little bright, so let's go ahead and drop the exposure. Let's drop the exposure by 0.5. Let's bring up the contrast because we're going to need some contrast in here. 150 contrast. And let's drop the highlights all the way down. Actually, let's bring the exposure back up to 0. Negative 0.25. That sounds pretty good. Let's take the curves. Let's do a curve setting because we do need to do a last curve here. That looks pretty good. I mean, again, it's a little overexposed. I don't know if the overexposure is something I can actually fix. That's just something that Sony requires you to do to make S-Log work. At least back then. I mean, this is S-Log from the A7S1, the first one. So maybe they're better at it with S-Log 3. This is S-Log 2. But it's not even a contest. I mean, again, this may be a knock on how terrible I am at color correcting, but anyway, guys, this is just a little fun primer for you guys to mess around on your own. If you have a different red and you want to give this a shot, do it and post it. Thanks for watching, guys. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Give us some thumbs down if you didn't. If you do give a thumbs down, come on, tell me why. Tell me what I did wrong. Please subscribe if you liked it, and I'm going to do more with Eterna. I love Eterna right now. I'm on a big kick. See ya in the next one.